The following program was produced by an independent community producer. The opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect those of the ECAT staff or board of directors.
Good evening, and welcome to the July 2026 edition of For the Love of Words. I'm John Holgerson, your co-host, along with Priscilla Almquist Olsen. Tonight, our poet is M.P. Carver. M.P. Carver is a poet and visual artist from Salem, Massachusetts. She is director of the Massachusetts Poetry Festival, micro-founder of Molecule, a tiny lit mag, and teaches at Salem State University. Her work has been published in Rattle, Mantis, and Nix's Mate, among others. She has received funding or fellowships from the Massachusetts Cultural Council, the Essex Community Foundation, the T.S. Eliot Foundation, and Disquiet International. In 2022, her poem, You and God and I, was awarded the New England Poetry Club's E.E. Cummings Prize. Her chapbook, Selachomorpha, was published by Incessant Pipe in 2015, and a chapbook with Lilly Poetry Review, Hard Up, is available now. Welcome, MP.
Thank you so much for having me.
Let me start, as I do often, by asking you, how long have you been a writer?
I would say I've probably been a writer about maybe 20 years now. Of course, I loved poetry and everything before that, but about 20 years seriously I've been writing.
Okay, and when you started writing that time ago, was it poetry or was it another form, another genre?
No, I have to say it's always been poetry for me from the get-go.
Okay, so I know you mentioned Shel Silverstein was one of your influences when you were young.
Yeah.
But when you got into writing poetry as an adult, who were your influences at that time?
Right. Well, so one of my earliest American poetry influences was Jerome Rothenberg. I read his A Book of Witness, and I was so moved by it. I think it was the first time I really understood what a book of poetry could do versus an individual poem. And after that, my academic study had all been in Japanese poetry, so I was really moved by like the Zen haiku masters and everything.
And other forms of Japanese poetry.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and the tanka especially was my favorite.
Yeah.
But I needed to embark on sort of a quest to catch up in American and English literature. And so I started reading T.S. Eliot, and also I was really moved early on by Allen Ginsberg. So those were some of my influences, but I read voraciously in those early years, trying to make up for my deficits, you know, in education.
T.S. Eliot and Allen Ginsberg are definitely not in the same pot, I think, as poets. They're very different, from different eras, actually, as I'm sure you know. So I want to talk a little bit about the chapbook, Selachomorpha. Okay, it's an unusual name, and it's not a name I think the viewing audience would be familiar with. So could you give us a little bit background of what those poems in that book are? What's the theme, and where does that title come from?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's not a narrative poem. It's very expressive, much more sort of moved by emotion. And when I wrote it, I had the idea of sort of a figure in the poem that was sort of very predatory, and that figure was it was not a shark. It was not quite that literal, but there's a lot in the poem that's related to sharks. So there's like a number that reoccurs, and I had to write a shark expert to find out found out the number of teeth in the mouth of like the average female tiger shark, for example. But so Selachomorpha is the superorder that includes sharks and rays. So that's where the title comes from.
Very interesting, very interesting. And now I want to ask you about, in the bio that I read, you refer to yourself as the micro-founder of the Tiny Lit Mag, Molecule. I do know that Molecule is a literary magazine that only publishes poems that have 50 or less words, correct? Hence,
Yeah.
Molecule. Do you have a role in the magazine beyond being the co-founder? Are you the editor or reader or?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm co-reader with the other founder and co-editor, and I design and lay out the magazine. So it's really a mostly a two-person show. Although we do have some folks that help us out with reading who are getting more involved. But yeah, and actually I'll say it was my friend Kevin Carey was the other founder, and. I had the idea for years, partially because of my love of like really short forms, like Japanese poems.
Yep.
And so I would always like wax poetic about these ideas I have. I'm going to have this magazine, da da da. And we were both teaching at Salem State, and Kevin's desk was in front of mine at the time. And I started talking about my dream of this magazine, and he says, "When are we going to do it?" Oh, I said, "What?" He said, "When are we going to do it?" And I said, "Well, I guess we'll do it right now." And so then we started.
So 50 words obviously are not, or is not, a lot of words. What are you and Kevin looking for in a 50-word poem? What, I would imagine it's very difficult for a writer to put a lot of information in 50 words. So exactly what are you looking for those 50 words to say to you?
Right. No, absolutely. So I feel like a short poem is really good for a wry observation or sort of a quick kind of jolt of emotion. I think the short poem definitely can't develop an idea in the way a long poem can. So I think a lot of times I love a short poem that that's kind of surprises you or makes an observation about the world that's really true and people recognize it, but it's unique. You've observed something that other people haven't thought to write about before. So in the very best short poems, I think they move a little bit like that. So.
Okay, fair enough. Now, you have another role, which is director of the Massachusetts Poetry Festival. That's a pretty big role. And it's a biannual event, is that correct now?
Yes,
it
used
is
to
now,
be annual,
but now it's biannual. So am I correct that next year, 2027, is when it will happen again?
2027, and I hope by the time this airs, we'll have the date
set
firmly in stone. Yeah, so folks
Good.
can go look it up.
Now, there have been over the years, I have been a participant in the Poetry Festival on two different occasions. I've had projects that were accepted. What are you, as the director, looking for proposals for this particular poetry festival in 2027? What are the unique features that you're looking for? Because I think there are people who are in our viewing audience that are writers, and I think some might very well want to, once it becomes available, send in a proposal. So I think they'd be interested in knowing what kind of proposals, what type of proposals are you looking for?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll say that we bring on a committee of poets. We try to get poets from different regions of the state who are connected in the poetry community. So that, of course, I'm based on the East Coast, and so I wouldn't want poets from Western Massachusetts not to, if I don't know a name, I still want that poet to be represented, right? So,
of course.
And so, sort of together we make the decisions, and we lay out a set of criteria, and we do put them on the website ahead of time so folks can read that. And we usually prefer, there are panels, workshops, readings, so we are usually trying to balance between those elements, so not all readings, not all workshops. And some of the things we discuss include diversity in all forms, right? Diversity of identity, diversity of ideas, right? We really want a festival where sort of everybody's poetry, everybody's region, everybody can see themselves reflected in some way in the festival. So that's one of our concerns. And I'll say another thing that we think about is appeal to the general public. So because it is a festival rather than a conference. We really want things that sort of can draw a wide audience rather than a specialized audience.
Well, I think that when you read your own work tonight, I think this audience will see a diversity of themes and subject matter, and we look forward to hearing you read.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. And I'm going to start with a poem from my chapbook hard up from Lily Poetry Books. Many thanks to Eileen Cleary. So this poem's called Welfare, and it mentions a Chinese philosopher named Mencius, an ancient Chinese philosopher. Welfare. Mencius said, "There is proof humans are good. Even a criminal coming across a baby perched near the edge of a well will snatch the baby back without a thought." Then again, he was around in 300 BCE. You could save a baby then, without everyone asking, "What the hell? Who are you to save that baby? There's paperwork associated with that baby. Do you know how much that baby is worth?" Mencius's criminal lived in the Warring States period, a good, well-defined time for folks. Criminals were criminals, peasants were peasants, the rich were rich, yes, even then, and anyone could just walk around, thoughtlessly saving babies. I tried to resist the bird as soul metaphor, but watching them there, soaring, scuffling over trash, chasing each other off lampposts in the gray dawn of the all-night Dunkin' Donuts parking lot, I moved despite myself. Prayer. My friend Hannah is reading a philosopher who thinks we're going to upload our minds into computers, and this is the eternal life that Jesus meant for us all along, but couldn't explain in 32 AD. I think this underestimates Jesus' imagination and overestimates Silicon Valley, but I would like to live forever or bring back the dead. I sit down at my PC and ask Jesus GPT if he can pretend to be my uncle. Yeah, I can. What would you like your uncle to tell you? The cursor waits, blinking black in the bright entry field, a reverse star. Speaking of fairy tales, or the huntsman denies ever cleaving anything. That axe, he says, is good for finding spaces in things. And this next one's a little bit of a strange one. This is the poem, You and God and I. You were born under the porch, halfway living and halfway dead. I watched the door of our house from the underbrush, praying. You said victory is the antonym of happiness, and this the only language I did not speak. God licked the ice and salt from our winter fields. I shook off God's language, and my elbows turned, my skin grew brindle. I swallowed so many kinds of wild, my breast grew wide, my tongue riotous. I began to smell even the stars. My lashes grew long like you like. God did not weep, just stared with that dumb moon eye. We traced tracks in the snow of our universe. Spring followed. You led me intemperate into the thaw. I crossed over. The ants went to their war again, and we bent to watch them seethe. We stood very still, but their little cities were nothing but dirt. You wouldn't give up the shape of our dead, but God swiveled that long neck, searching. All right, and this next poem actually came from a friend of mine who gave a prompt to start a poem with a joke. Why do teenage girls travel in groups of 3, 5, or 7? Because they literally can't even. My favorite joke. I remember being a teenager, wandering around with my friends at the Liberty Tree Mall down the street from our public housing complex. All us mall rats were escaping something. Empty houses, screaming drunks, or just pain in the ass families. At that age, the entire world seemed stupid, unjust, and stacked against you. We never bought anything except $2 pretzels at the Auntie Anne's and the occasional orange Julius. The authorities hated us. They put up signs, no unaccompanied minors in groups of 5 or more. How many peeps in a posse, we laughed. We'd watch the mall cops coming around to chase us away from the Suncoast, the Wet Seal, the Spencers. We broke apart and came back together, a flock of starlings briefly startled by some dumb, bumbling dog. Early 90s, everything seemed bright and clean then, before ghost malls and recessions. We were little gods of our well-appointed domain. We didn't have money, but we could bum around and be swept up in our tidy, colorful, shoppable world just the same as everyone else. Better, we knew every corner. Knew too the old men, 20s and 30s, even 40s who hung around too long, trying to look cool to an unwise young rebel, trying to find the girl whose home was worst. This was before we got minimum wage jobs like our parents, before we learned what it meant to be broke and care, before that motel across the street behind the Denny's rented by the hour closed, before overdoses, before whispering about which girl had fallen in too deep to get out. And this poem recently came out in the journal Nix's Mate. Things I am grateful for after nearly being final destinationed by loose 2x4s. The Whole Foods at the next exit, where I sample 5 varieties of cheese and fig jam, fields of wildflowers, good movies, and art museums I have seen. The friends I text immediately, chickadees, titmice, and white-breasted nuthatches, buffalo cauliflower, empty lanes, delightful twists of sentences, of syntax in sentences that go on and on and on. The divine face of the Hancock Building, which I will pass when I get back on the road. The superior colliculus, oldest visual structure of the brain, processing the horizon underneath the conscious field. The friends I will text when I get home. The chance to use final destination as a verb. Litanies, flapjacks, fields of wildflowers, good movies, and art museums I have not seen and won't. Fields of wildflowers, good movies, and art museums I have not seen but will. Oh, great. And the title of this one will be familiar to a lot of folks. It's a quote from F. Scott Fitzgerald on The Rich. They are different from you and me. They put on 2 left shoes in the morning and wear sparkly hats to bed. They answer the phone with animal noises and laugh at graveside ceremonies. They eat everything in miniature, quarter-sized pizzas and little round potatoes half the size of your fingernail grown by monks in Tibet. They eat dozens of these, hundreds, tens of hundreds, hundreds of hundreds, thousands of hundreds, and so on. Like us, they count on their fingers, but unlike us, they use base 60. Their calculations so fast, their fingers sometimes fly right off. They are afraid of this. They tie tiny leashes to their fingers, have bespoke mini harnesses made of gold and platinum and titanium and tungsten and iridium and carbide, embedded with diamonds and serendibites and grandiorites and emeralds. This is not cheap. But now there is talk of 100% tax on income over $1 billion. $1 billion may seem like a lot, but in base 60, it's only 1H9 BKE, and I'm worried about how the billionaires or the multi-billionaires or the centi-billionaires could possibly get by, hands intact. Let's see. And I'm going to read one. My friend, the poet Jack Jower, writes a lot of poems with coyotes in them, and I immediately became jealous, and I wanted a coyote poem too, so this is my attempt. How to Enter the Trees. In the space between one oak and the next, in the birches, the coyotes are waiting. Coyotes, terrible, full of teeth and intent, end quotes and maelstroms. This is what it means to be in the woods, to be soft, poetic, full of speech and filaments. What is nature? The space my heart carves on the page as my skin crawls through the air. The birth of even so much as dread and the romantics. Poets all around, bark and abrasion, human eyes entering the space between the conifers, the maples, the pines. Talk from the open cavern of the sky. Swallow and pretend to know the names of things, to walk upright, to sing songs. About us, the firs drop sharp tin needles in the flimsy, unlasting light. And this next one is an older one that I don't read very much. It's for my uncle who, for the last 3 years of his life, I was his he was in a facility, but I was his main caretaker. He had Alzheimer's, and it took me 3 years to write this one poem, or to be ready to write it, I should say. Epistle for William Lord, 1931 to 2016. I don't know what to say to you. How have you liked the weather up there? I poured my guts out into those clouds and into explaining the thermostat each and every morning for 3 years. Your memory was pretty ragged, but it could have been worse. I was glad for the stroke, though it was terrible. Up there, can you tell what is the sky from what is the emptiness inside the sky? Are you still having trouble with the TV? Press the big red button on the right. I'm sorry for the last crappy nursing home when all the money was gone. What exactly is my tone here? And is it to you that I'm writing? I was always a talker, a babbler really. You'd tell me to slow down, speak clearly. Sometimes I think the voice in my poems is the one you helped me step inside of. Should I thank you? In the end, you babbled too, and I had no voice to give you. I miss you. I remember that's what I wanted to say, and my voice gets stronger every day. Carry on. Don't come down on my account. You're doing great. Or at least you're doing exactly as well as they said you would. Self-portrait as a stainless steel frying pan. I search YouTube for tips on how to stop things from burning, sticking, splattering all over my easy peel tile backsplash. I'm trying to develop a touch for these things, get it a little bit more right, understand the science behind it all. Preheat the dry skillet for 1 to 2 minutes at medium-low. Test with water, with spatula. Add thin layer of cold butter and sage. Pray for the pan. Leave pan out in open air when Mercury is in retrograde. Manifest the pan shining, clean as clean could be. Spend time with the pan. Ask what it needs. Interpret the pan's silver dreams. Look at the pan. See it for what it really is. This seems like good advice, but so far nothing has worked. Just disappointing suppers before the long scrub of night. Near the end of the relationship. I let my feet get scaly, then rub them against you at night. Screech on your voicemail like a rusty door hinge. I push little thorns through your electronics to interpret the way they hum. When you sleep, I crouch beside you, whisper into your dreams, how did I ever love you? I spike strip the doorways. I slit my tongue and become a snake. And this next poem is a persona poem from the perspective of Moby Dick. Moby Dick on that Captain Ahab. I'm not shy. I'll tell anyone who asks that I can't stand the man. Who was it following who everywhere? I even hate the way he chews and the clicking of his peg. By the way, I had nothing to do with that leg. He got drunk one night, entangled in the rigging when he fell. He'd been up there looking for me, but I floated so low and still, a trick of the light. I didn't mind seeing him cry, hanging there. I liked imagining the bite of the rope that held him, its roughness against his hot skin. I waited long hours in the freezing water of those whaling grounds. No one came to save him. I could have spouted off or rocked the ship a bit, woken up the cook or the mate in time to save the limb, but the sea was too gentle to disturb. And this next one is the references the Looney Tunes. So while E works on himself, he started seeing the Roadrunner everywhere. TV static, coffee grounds in the bottom of the sink, rain clouds. He jokes at the Toon reunion that the whole world has become one big Rorschach test. No one laughs. Later, Elmer takes him aside, asks him how he's doing. In his dreams that night, a blue-feathered hornet looms over the horizon, one eye the sun, another the moon. It begins to swallow the desert landscape, mandibles scooping up the rusty orange sand, cacti, gray roads, and arroyo. As Wile E turns to run, the world falls away behind him. He runs and he runs. In the morning, he gets the number of Sam's therapist. He spends months trying to cut off his unproductive imaginings, recognize spiraling thoughts, revisualize. I am a tree, he tells himself in line at the grocery store when some kid's squeaky shoe reminds him of a meep meep. My roots extend through the tile floor to the earth. I am planted, my mind and body can be still. For once, it works. He's found journaling exercises useful, takes a poetry class at community college. They read one art, and the professor tells him that villanelles are good for obsession. He gets published in the school's lit mag, starts going to open mic nights. People clap for him. He stays up late nights writing. Everything is a metaphor for the Roadrunner. The gravity-edged cliff, the running storm, an uncertain silhouette in the hazy distance. He wants to stop, but can't. And this next poem was inspired by a Salem poet who passed away in 2015, Malcolm Miller. The state of it. The train cuts across the marsh, the fence cuts across the forest, the bridge cuts across the river. Our stone, steel, and electric bones grow and grow. We rib the planet. The rib cage protects the chest traps the heart. Our hearts beat and beat. We know that someday they won't. Still, we can't help but think that this, too, is something we can cut across. I'll end with a silly little poem I wrote recently. Artist statement. A dog who pees in the house leaves messages for just himself. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Welcome to For the Love of Words. I'm Priscilla Almquist Olsen, your host, and today it gives me a great deal of pleasure to welcome Jill and Mark Tolstrup, or in Finnish, it's Tolstrup.
Okay.
Anyway.
However you want to say it.
And you're out in Saratoga, New York, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Upstate New York.
Okay, so welcome to the show. And we're doing this by Zoom, of course, because they are in Saratoga. And it's a great town. I've been there. Very beautiful landscape and nice place to
It's a historic town. It has some history to it. It's been populated, settled, for many, many years. There's springs here, which brought people first for the health. And it has its own sort of cachet for sure.
Yeah. Well, and your history, let's start with you, Mark. Where did you grow up and how did your formative years influence the journey that you're on now?
Well, the first part's easy. I grew up in Malden, Mass.
Aha, you're one of us.
But I've been, yep. I still have a little bit of family there. Excuse me. And I've been living in upstate New York now for longer than I think, at least 40 years. And As far as the musical journey, growing up in America, you get exposed to all kinds of music. And I grew up when I was young, my dad was sort of involved with the folk scene, in the 1960s. So we went to, various coffee houses. And so we saw a lot of different kinds of folk music, Appalachian folk music, singer-songwriter kind of folk music, blues. And I just sort of absorbed these things and I just gravitated to playing and just kind of kept going with it.
Very interesting. So your father was a big influence on you.
To some extent. Well, he was, he brought us to the place, for sure. I kind of got more involved with the blues. That was never really something that he was so involved with, but the blues is probably the base of everything that I do. I've certainly played a lot of traditional like blues, Delta blues, blues from the 20s and the 30s and up. But even, when I write songs or the things that I do, it always has that influence. The blues is kind of a foundational American music form, and it casts a pretty wide influence.
Yeah, and the blues, that brings us to Jill, because you're a blues singer. Is that correct? Or jazz singer. But you do blues too, right?
Yeah, I say more blues and jazz.
More blues, for
More
sure.
blues. And so you're influenced by your hubby.
Indeed.
Tell us about where you grew up and what musical influences were part of your life.
Sure. Well, I am born and raised in Texas, Central Texas, specifically right outside of Austin. And I was mostly influenced, I guess, by classic rock and a lot of the blues forms that were in the classic rock music. That's where I started, I suppose. And then I went backwards, also in the blues, and found some of the older blues musicians. And I really just started singing more publicly about 6 or 8 years ago, I guess. And ran into Mark. That's how we met. And
Right, the blues brought us together, right?
for sure, it did. I was singing a song called Wild Women Don't Get the Blues, and that's how we met. Something led to another.
And was that in Texas?
No, that was actually here in Saratoga.
I see. So you were visiting.
I moved up to Saratoga around 13 years ago.
I see.
So
So you preferred the snow to the blistering sun.
I don't think that's true.
I can't say that, but either way, you get trapped inside for a while, whether it's the sun or the snow.
That's a good way to
So
do it.
is Mark the only one who writes the songs, or do you also write songs, Jill?
I would say that Mark is more of a songwriter than I am, and he has been writing songs a lot longer. But since we've been together, we have written together, and I've come up with at least one song that's mostly me.
I think that, yeah, at this point, yeah, I've been writing songs and playing a lot longer. But Jill is either, a partner or at least influence on all of these songs that we're doing these days.
Yes, for sure.
And when you're writing songs, what comes first, the melody or the words?
The words is what makes it a song. I mean, melody and grooves and musical forms. Every time I play, these come like in abundance. There's lots of them. What makes it a song is when you can capture some little musical idea and put words to it, and then build it from there. And that usually starts with some kind of an idea, like some kind of a concept, or even sometimes just a line. You never know. Like we have one song that we will probably do. I think we're going to do that one today. The song is called "That's My Heavy," and it kind of came about because Jill and I were taking a walk, and she was kind of talking about some things going on in her life. And then she just sort of ended her little, discussion with, "Well, that's my heavy," like something that she had to deal with. And I just kind of wrote it down. "Oh, that's my heavy. That's a good line." And I had a little chord progression thing that I'd been fooling around with, and then they kind of came together as a song.
Okay, so words and melody, so it could be both, couldn't it?
Yeah, the words is what makes it a song. The words is what makes it stay. Just playing the melodies and the chord progressions and so on. I do those all the time. There's always something new. But
Mhm.
to make it a song, you have to have an idea, what's the concept or the image, anyways. And then the words, sure. Yep.
And so what inspires you uh, when you're, I mean, sometimes as you pointed out, it was something that Jill said to you and inspired you to write that song. But
Mhm.
are there other places, events or things that happen in your life that become song material?
Yeah, well, I've definitely written songs over the years about specific things, but I would say, for the most part, the things that we do, they're just about life. The blues, as a form is sort of like somewhat incorrectly, suggested to be about hard times and sorrow. Not really. There's as much blues about drinking and carrying on, and having a good time as there are about anything else. But what there always is there always some kind of story and there's always something about life. And so I would say all of our songs have something to do with the struggles, whether you're struggling or making it through, either way, about life, day-to-day life, things that happen in your life.
Mhm. And Jill, how about you? Where do you find your inspiration?
Um, so I would say that the songs that I have really written on have come from mostly the challenging times in my life specifically, and on topics that I want to let people know that there's hope and that you're not alone. So those are the ones that I've participated in heavily, I guess.
Oh, that's great. And so where have you been performing?
All over.
Well, we're in upstate New York, so we do a lot of the things here. Cafe Lena is a venue up here that's just one of these continuously run since the 1960s. I think they actually started in 1960. It's a coffee house from way back in the day. You know, many people, Bob Dylan and all these other people, before they became anything, started playing there. So it's got a lot of history. So we play there a couple of times a year. And at, any other kind of stage, everything from, in the summer, there's some concerts in the park kind of a thing. And there's various shows at other performance venues. We don't really do a lot of like things at restaurants and bars, but we do occasionally do these things. Troy Music Hall does a thing that we do in the summer that's quite nice outside. We try to get any place where people will actually, listen to the music. That's the thing.
Mhm. So, so you have regular concerts during the year that you uh, go to.
Yes,
And,
yeah.
what's your favorite venue?
Cafe Lena for me. I mean, Cafe Lena is just, like I said, it's got a lot of history. It's well known. Many famous people have played there. It's a nice stage. It's a listening room where people come to really listen and you know, pay attention to the music. It's a great place.
You know,
That's certainly one of my favorites.
it's amazing, I think, that a
Yes.
coffee house has existed since the 60s.
1960 they started. Yep.
That was
They're still
that was my time. You know, I was
sure.
very involved in the 60s and civil rights, women's rights, the war, against the war in
Yep.
Vietnam. But I remember some of the names of these places were really funny. One was called the Lizard.
Yep.
It was in Michigan where my former husband was studying, getting his doctorate, and the Lizard, and it's really opened up at like 11:30 at night, you know, and it was rock bands and so forth. And boy, I remember we danced and had so much fun, and and then we'd get up, you know, you get to bed at 2 a.m. and then get up at 7. Who can do
Sure.
that now? But anyway, it's been wonderful to meet you both, and now we're going to hear your music, and we look forward to it, so carry on.
So this song was written, I wrote it when Jill and I first started playing together. And this was just before COVID, when everything shut down and got so weird for so long. And so the chorus line in this one is, rain's gonna stop, but it's not gonna stop right now. And it kind of became almost like a metaphor for like, some of this is gonna have to stop eventually. Right? You see the streetlights are coming on. Shops are closing and the people are heading home. Taxi cab makes its last lazy swing. Stops at the corner and a woman along hits in. She looks out at the night through the window that's streaked with rain. She said something like looking out of bed and the rain's gonna stop, but it's not gonna stop right now. Things are gonna change someday, but you don't see it coming. Doesn't really matter how things got this way. You just hold on long enough, things are gonna change. There's a kitchen light in the house on Orchard Street. It's been a long, long night every night for the Easton week. There's a shoebox on the table and a bottle of jam. And a man in a straight back chair with a violin. He's looking at a black and white photograph. Back together after it was torn in half. Well, the rain's gonna stop, but it's not gonna stop right now. Things are gonna change someday, but you don't see how. It doesn't really matter how things got this way. If we just hold on long enough, things are gonna change. Doesn't really matter how things got this way. If you just hold on long enough, things are gonna change. If you just hold on long enough, things are gonna change. So there's always some kind of origin to the songs, you know, they start with some little kernel of something. This particular one started many years ago, Jill and I were taking a walk, and she was telling a little story about some of the trials and tribulations she was working through. And at the end of it, she kind of sighed, shook her shoulders, said, well, that's my heavy. That's my heavy to deal with, you know. So things happen. And so I kind of like, you know, I kind of took that's my heavy, and then together we kind of put it together with little musical ideas. And then, you know, there's always for me, there's always new musical ideas, little guitar riffs and whatever. It's when you get some little meaning, some little kernel that kind of gets in the oyster and keeps going until it becomes a pearl. Started with Jill saying, that's my heavy, and it became this. So this song has got a couple of different things for its origin. It does have a connection to Australia. My cousin, another cousin of ours, Sandy, was in Australia, and she was there, and she was having some trouble in her life or something, and she asked kind of Aboriginal wise man of some sort, I don't really know who he was or what he was, you know, and he suggested, he says, what you need to do is you need to return to the water of your origin. So she came back from Australia and she lived here in the you know, and I think she spent some time in Salem, but in the Boston area. And about that same time, I had a Tai Chi teacher who was 102, who was going back to China because he felt like his life was coming to an end, and he kind of wanted to end where he started. So this song actually has a couple of different pieces as its origin.
And we recently recorded this song, and so we will have this out on our new CD very soon.
Turn my bed down when I close my eyes. Turn my bed round, face me to the sky. There's a lighthouse out on the harbor that's calling me. It's time to get back down to the sea. How strong the heat, it's standing still, but there's nobody home. Everybody's gone. There's a light out on the harbor. It's gone. It's time to get back down to the sea. I hitchhiked from coast to coast just to clear my mind, but the highway was full of ghosts. We came down the line. I still don't know what I don't know, but I don't care anymore. When it came my time to go, I just walked out that door. Kids on Orchard Street, they call it trick or treat. They don't know my name. It's been so long since I've been gone. It's a lighthouse out on the harbor. It's gone. It's time to get back down to the sea. It's time to get back down to the sea. It's time to get back down to the sea. So this is the first song that Jill and I ever wrote together. When we first started playing, we did a lot of blues, we did some of my stuff, and I was like, Jill, we gotta write some material. But she would insist.
I don't write.
She said this all the time. And she would also, always insist that she didn't drink while she was drinking that second glass of wine. So one night after the gig, I was like, we gotta write some songs. She's like, I don't write. And I was like,
He pushed a computer in my face and he said, write that down.
I did say that. And then I was like, did you want a cocktail? She's like, I don't drink. Yes, I'll have something. That'd be good. Something with lemon flavor. Anyway, so we came up with this little idea.
By the way, I have written a song since then.
She's written some very powerful material since that time.
It is not the sweet love song he was looking for.